All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a homebrew Dungeons & Dragons subclass that completely flips the traditional forest-prancing archer trope right on its head. As an RPG designer, I absolutely love looking at how flavor meets mechanics, right? And we're going to break down this design to see if its gameplay actually matches its incredibly dark, damp, subterranean narrative theme. We're looking at the Mycelial Warden, an underground, rot-worshipping ranger.
So, to really get the design here, we first have to understand the core thematic fantasy. For this ranger, tracking a target is as simple as listening to the earth breathe. Think about that for a second. The Mycelial Warden isn't just looking for snapped twigs or muddy footprints. No, they connect directly to the subterranean fungal network. They view the entire world not as individual plants and animals, but as this singular, massive organism bound together by threads of fungus. It's all about this constant, inevitable cycle of decay and rebirth. It's a beautifully grim perspective, and it instantly sets this ranger apart from your typical woodland strider.
But, a great concept always has to survive the reality of the character sheet. When we look at the actual Warden features table, we can see how we transition from all that fantastic fluff right into the mechanical crunch. They get specific Mycelial Warden spells at level 3, along with features like Parasitic Mark and Undergrowth Strider, scaling all the way up to a really wild capstone at level 15. The layout is clean, the art is stunning, but let's see how these mechanics actually play at the table.
Which brings us to Section 1, the mechanics, specifically the action economy and feature breakdown.
Now, a really common pitfall in homebrew design is cluttering up the player's turn, so let's see how elegantly this subclass manages it. What's fascinating here is how the subclass fundamentally alters the 2024 revised base Ranger's core spell. In the revised rule set, Rangers always have Hunter's Mark prepared, and they can cast it without expending a spell slot several times a day. Well, the Mycelial Warden leans right into this with their level 3 feature Parasitic Mark. Instead of just dealing extra force damage, you are literally lacing your hunting magic with flesh-eating spores. You get to choose between poison or necrotic damage, completely changing the damage profile to fit that theme of a spreading fungal contagion.
And when we visually map the action tags for this subclass, just look at how elegant the Spore Contagion feature is. It triggers passively. When you hit your marked target, spores erupt. Boom! It happens once per turn on a hit without demanding an extra bonus action. Since the base ranger already heavily relies on their bonus action to cast or move Hunter's Mark around, keeping this passive is honestly a stroke of genius. It keeps the action economy buttery smooth. Then at level 7, Spore Step gives you this amazing utility, letting you use either a bonus action to maneuver or your reaction to defend. Crucially, it doesn't fight your core offensive loop.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the meta. We're looking at synergies and the broken test. Here is where we combine this homebrew with the core rule set to hunt for any overpowered synergies or infinite loops. And this sequence right here brilliantly illustrates the sheer defensive power of that level 7 Spore Step feature I just mentioned. Let's walk through it. Say a boss hits you with a massive, devastating attack. The trigger happens, you take damage. As a reaction, you dissolve into microscopic spores. The resolution, you have the damage taken from that triggering attack, and you instantly teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space. It's like combining the rogue's uncanny dodge with a misty step. It's just incredibly strong for getting out of melee range and saving your own skin.
But oh man, it gets even wilder when paired with late-game base ranger features. At level 11, the Warden gets Spore-Induced Delirium. When a creature fails its save against your Spore Contagion, you can blind them, have their speed, or, get this, turn them into a fungal puppet, forcing them to use their reaction to attack an ally. Now pair that with the level 17 base ranger feature, Precise Hunter, which gives you advantage on all attacks against your marked target. Since you are practically guaranteeing hits with that advantage, you are constantly forcing that Constitution saving throw. This creates a devastating, near-infinite loop of debuffs on enemy targets.
Now, with all that late-game power, the crucial point for Dungeon Masters to watch out for is actually hidden way back in the early game. Level 3 gives the Warden a feature called Undergrowth Strider. Alongside poison resistance, it grants a 10-foot burrowing speed through soft earth, mud, or silt. DMs consider this a severe cheese warning. Say goodbye to your carefully crafted dirt floor puzzles and locked wooden dungeon doors, because this Ranger's is just going to casually burrow right under them in 6 seconds flat. It's highly thematic, absolutely, but you need to design your encounters keeping this literal underground shortcut in mind.
Which brings us to our final section, the judgment and final verdict.
But right before we lock in our final score on the power level, I really have to highlight the incredible utility of the level 15 capstone, Sovereign Bloom. This feature lets you siphon the life of a dying foe affected by your Parasitic Mark.
You can either use that decomposing body to knit the wounds of your allies within 30 feet, restoring their hit points, or you use your reaction to animate that corpse instantly as a fungal zombie that obeys your commands for a full minute. That is a massive, massive swing in the action economy late game, literally turning a downed enemy into an immediate frontline blocker for your party.
So where does that leave us? Ultimately, I'm rating the Mycelial Warden as Tier 1, or Strong. It's definitely slightly overtuned compared to some of the official D&D material we've seen, mostly due to the sheer amount of utility packed into Spore Step and the continuous debuffs from Spore-Induced Delirium. However, it earns this high tier because it is just incredibly elegant. The action economy is phenomenally well designed, it doesn't fight the base class features, and every single mechanic is just dripping with deeply atmospheric, fungal flavor.
I'll leave you with this to reflect on. Is a 10-foot burrow speed at level 3 too much for the campaigns you run? How would you handle it? Would you limit how long they can stay under, or maybe require an action to dig? I'd really love to hear how you would balance this specific feature at your own tables. Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your dice rolling and your campaigns thriving.